Now, there's a survey they've conducted. They've asked a lot of people, 8,000 Kiwis, because when you do surveys, you hear about 50, 100, it's 1,000. 8,000 Kiwis were asked by Consumer. They reported on 72 different car models and there were some interesting answers that came through, some stats. So it found makers such as Honda, Tesla and BYD. I had to look up what that was, by the way. It's an all-electric vehicle brand that was launched in New Zealand in 2022. They stood out for the right reasons. Meanwhile, brands such as Ford, Volkswagen, Holden, Chrysler Jeep, SsangYong, Mitsubishi and Mercedes-Benz all scored poorly for reliability and owner satisfaction. Why that's interesting, I think, is because Ford, Holden, even the Mitsubishi, they're common. Sorry for those who have those cars, but they're, every third car. And the Mazda 6 was one of the lowest scores for satisfaction and reliability. Now, I've got the Mazda CX-7, which they don't make anymore. But I adore my car, and it's been so reliable. She's now super old. I think we're up to nearly 300 clicks on the clock, 300,000. Just goes and goes and goes. So it's interesting. Santa Fe owners were also among the least satisfied. Mitsubishi Outlander reported their vehicle's fuel economy, driving performance poorer than expected. Are you guys not doing, your homework? These are very popular brands. What's going on? Clive Matthew-Wilson joins me now from the Dog and Lemon Guide. Clive, hello, how are you?
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. Now, I don't think it's called the Dog and Lemon Guide anymore, isn't it? Is it just dogandlemon.com?
That's right.
There we go. Yeah, get it right, sorry.
And we do lemon. We specialise in exposing lemon cars, so this is our bread and butter.
This is right up your driveway in your garage.
Yeah, so just a couple of things that you should need to know about these surveys. There's a difference between outright reliability surveys, for example, cars that come in on the back of a tow truck because they've broken down,
right,
and customer satisfaction surveys. So consistently, every study that I'm aware of on the planet basically says that electric cars are substantially poorer in terms of reliability than conventional cars. Electric cars are still in the Model T phase. There's not a crank handle on the front, but there might as well be because it's relatively new technology. And yet, the owners like the fact that they're driving an electric car. So BYD, for example, has had massive problems with the inside of the car misting up. They claim they've solved the problem now. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but which you'd think would count very badly against it. But people feel good about driving something that may be saving the planet, and they may feel bad because, like, the Mitsubishi Outlander is not a bad vehicle at all.
No.
Like is different than can't live with.
Yes.
Right? We all have difficulty with our partners, right? They snore or they elbow us in the night, right? That doesn't mean we want to leave. And it's the same with cars.
No.
So, basically that what your accountant and your mechanic will say is basically the same thing. Japanese brands like Toyota consistently, and Lexus, which is the luxury brand from Toyota, consistently at the top, and then you've got Honda and so on and so forth. Nissan is owned by the European company Renault, so their quality is not nearly as good as it used to be. Anything from Europe, basically, if you want my advice, for free, you'll avoid it, because the Europeans think of cars as we think of cell phones. You wouldn't own a 10-year-old cell phone, so they go, the cars, you're going to trade it in 3 years, so who cares that the, gearbox will blow up. So, just do what your dad did, buy a Toyota if you want reliability. The Korean brands like Hyundai Kia, which is the same company, and they're basically all the same vehicles with different, packaging. They're pretty good when they're new. They're not so good when they're old. Mazdas generally are very reliable. They put out a bunch of really bad diesel engines that have come back to haunt them multiple times, which is probably why that particular car had a really low rating. But generally speaking, stick with Japanese brands except for Nissan, and you probably won't go too far wrong.
Ah, okay. Because as I said, I've got a CX-7 which they stopped making, I think, in 2012, and I've had her now about 15 years, and it's up to nearly 300 k's on the clock.
Yeah.
And I think I've only had one issue where when I was driving back from Matamata, she just stopped for some reason, just lost all power. And then I'd pull over the side of the road. It was a bit scary. A tow truck came, went back to Matamata, and then brought it back up to Auckland. And then my mechanic rang and said, "You're not going to believe this. She just started. We can't find anything wrong." And I said, "Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't going." He said, "Oh, sometimes the jiggling on the back of the truck does it." I said, "What?"
Yeah.
And touch wood, that was it.
Yeah, and my neighbour spent 135 grand on a new Tesla, which broke down 3 times in 3 months from new, including, wait for this, in the busy lane on the Auckland motorway. I helped him get his money back. You know, that's the sort of the money that the government has 400 or 500 million that the government spent on electric car subsidies was basically wasted because the people that buy electric cars generally can afford them anyway without a subsidy. And the idea was that after 5 years they'd end up in South Auckland and be affordable by ordinary people. But the level of reliability of electric cars is such that in 5 or 10 years' time those cars will be in a scrapyard.
Wow. Clive,
not very humble opinion.
Well, no, fair call. You're the man that knows. Just another question outside of the survey, because you're a road safety advocate as well. What do you make of this government's with Simeon Brown and the Transport Minister, and how they've decided to, roll back the, how the previous government brought speed limits right down to 80 k's and then 30 k's in the city? Are you happy to see the speeds go back up? Was it the right move?
So the fastest legal road on the country, the Waikato Expressway, which has 110k speed limit, is also the safest road in the country.
Yes.
So this automatic connection between speed and fatalities is not correct. And just remember that the people, those little shits that do ram raiding and run from cops, ignore speed limits anyway.